This show is all about the future, and I am going to make some predictions tonight. But if you want spooky accurate predictions, I mean really spooky accurate, you need a Ouija board. Ooh, you need spooky lighting, and of course, you need a crystal ball. Let me look into the crystal ball. I see an old woman in a checkered dress. That's my Auntie M. No, wrong. Hang on. I see a batch of rockets. The next batch of rockets will be portrayed as justifiable as a response to Israel's attack. Another prediction, the administration. The administration with this president, he will not be impeached when any other president would be impeached, but this time it will be excused by the press, and that president will go on to raise taxes on the rich and everyone else, even if it's bad for the economy, and no one will say boo. The media will continue to ask softball questions, and Benghazi will just go away in the middle of the night. Oh, you don't need a crystal ball or an upside-down fishbowl. You just need logic and common sense and history. Because we repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again. Today, I do want to show you how it ends. But not with a crystal ball or candles or don't let your kids play this. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's talk of secession. So what's coming next? There's unemployment. It's persistently high. National morale is low. The country is extremely polarized, cut in half. There's class warfare. Millions are living in poverty. The state of the economy is best described as being on a fiscal cliff. The unrest and violence. There's the value of our currency. It's plunging. And the government is now printing more money in order to pay off an insurmountable national debt. I want you to know that while this may feel like today or the near future in America, it is actually neither. What I just described to you is history. I've just described to you the Weimar Republic, which is the system, the government that was in Germany just before Hitler took power. Let me run through this list again, but show you a different set of pictures. Unemployment rate high, morale low, polarized nation, millions in poverty, the economy about to collapse, unrest, violence. The currency value was plummeting. The government prints more money to pay off its debts. The country was also involved with Marxist class warfare. The Reds and the National Socialists. If you know history, you don't need a Ouija board or a crystal ball. Ooh, you don't need even some market analyst to see where things are headed. All you need is history. Yesterday on TheBlaze, there was an incredible video which explains an awful lot of where we are in America. Watch.
What do you know about the fiscal cliff?
Well, it's common.
It's supposed to be something about the rich people have to pay more tax.
Fiscal cliff, it's something about the budget?
I just know that Obama's planning on some kind of plan with it. I don't know much more.
I'm not sure what a fiscal cliff is. A fiscal year, fiscal budget, you know, whatever.
Right.
I'm not sure what a fiscal cliff. Tell me about it.
What do you know about the fiscal cliff?
Nothing.
Nothing. Do you know where it is?
No.
No. Actually, it's in Aruba.
Okay.
Have you seen the movie Castaway?
Yes.
They filmed a large portion of it there.
Okay.
You want to take a guess, like what part of the country?
I can't even.
It's in the it's in the west. It's big though. It's beautiful this time of year, actually.
Americans have no clue as to what's about to hit. I started warning in 2007, prepare. And then they did all the bailouts. And I said, don't listen to them, it's not going to fix it. They're not going to tell you because they will prepare. And the best prepared will be able to seize control. And nobody has prepared because nobody has talked about it and really explained it. It's hard to blame people for not knowing about the financial mess we're in because nobody in the media is talking to you about it. The last 2 years, the national conversation has been about the right for free condoms. Really? In some ways, because we are the final guardians of the country, we deserve what we get. So if we're headed towards a cliff, why are we just hearing about it now? Didn't Barack Obama get us out of that ditch? No. No, he didn't. It was a lie, and it was a lie mainly perpetrated by printing money. The reason why you haven't heard about the fiscal cliff is because it didn't help anyone politically. In fact, it hurt the people that, if you would know about it and you prepared, it would hurt the people that want control of your life. If the government's top priority was stressing self-reliance and preparedness, and people actually listened, then politicians who want control of everything would lose an awful lot of leverage over you because you would be independent and prepared. If somebody who'd gone around the streets in the Weimar Republic, I suspect the answers would be pretty much like what we just heard. Ignorant. The reason why we're doing this show tonight is because it's coming. But I found an old diary written by a woman recalling her experience. She was a German high school student in 1918. Much like the video you just saw, most Germans had never heard of inflation or hyperinflation. And this is why she wrote this diary. She wanted future generations to not be as ignorant and recognize the signs. She describes the mindset that I think we're in right now. This is the mindset in the Weimar Republic at the time.
Suddenly a new word sprang up. Everybody talked about it to find out what it meant. It was the word inflation. We were right in it. When did it begin? When and how would it end? Was inflation the expression for continued racketeering? Prices jumped up faster and higher than ever before.
She was asking, the people were wondering, is this just more corruption? They didn't even know what it was, and I contend most Americans don't know what it is now. This is where we are. And she talks about, in this diary, as you'll see tonight, she talks about how she didn't know what it was, and in 2 weeks, all of a sudden, everyone was having a different conversation. We are living in ignorant bliss and arrogant denial. America, it can't happen here. Yes, it can. And if we continue down the same path, it will, because it always ends the same way. And the scariest part is that so few people in America are prepared for it. We bought into the lie that we only need to rely on the system. Well, what happens when the system fails? We had that, a week without power in the Northeast, and people start pulling guns on each other just to get gasoline. What happens if the whole system falls all across the country? We fall off the fiscal cliff, and we're all waiting in line for bread or butter or gasoline. And I don't know the timeline. We might have a week, we might have a year. I mean, war is brewing in the Middle East now. Maybe we have a few years, but our day of financial reckoning is coming, and we can't push it off and pretend that everything is okay, because it's not. We cannot close our eyes and wish our way out of this. I'd get the crystal ball out and show you the future, but Germany has already shown us the future. They've already shown us what will happen. They've been there and done that. And here is what they were dealing with in the Weimar Republic. They were dealing with a gold standard that had been suspended. They just ended World War I. They had enormous debt. They were printing money. London started calling in the chips and saying, hey, you got to pay us back. That devalued the currency. Then they legalized prostitution and the decay of social values and anti-Semitism. And then they said, hey, by the way, it's not illegal to have drugs as long as it's only a certain amount. We're repeating so much. Collapse is at the end. The first step towards solving a problem is admitting you have a problem. Do any of those symptoms there sound familiar, any of them? We think that the collapse at the end won't happen to us, even though we have every other step. Before Weimar, the German Empire was extremely powerful. It's not a nobody country. From 1871 to 1913, it doubled in population. It became the industrial powerhouse. Its navy went from non-existent to second to none, well, I shouldn't say that, second to the Royal Navy. And they were also the preeminent scientific giant on the planet. They had more Nobel Prizes in science than Britain, France, Russia, and the United States combined. Our system of education came from Germany. So how did it devolve into Weimar? Well, three things. One, the negative consequences of a deadly and expensive war. Two, massive economic crisis. Three, social and class division. There were socialists. This is the country that gave us Karl Marx. So the socialists and the communists were at work as well. And Germany became reckless in their foreign policy, too big for their britches. They thought, we can do it all, we can take over the world. And then World War I broke out in 1914. And after 4 years and so many dead, Germany lost. And then they were saddled with this massive debt for this war. $500 billion in today's dollars. $500 billion. What is ours again? 16 trillion? And there were worse problems than just money. One of them was the soldiers. The soldiers who risked their lives, they weren't welcome and they weren't paid. The funds promised for the veterans were denied. Sound familiar? Protests broke out. The German people lost faith in their political system, and that led to the German Revolution of 1918. Let me give you a hint. The flag was red, and a bitter battle raged for who would control Germany. Well, the empire collapsed, and the Weimar Republic was born. It was a republic. Now, I'm not saying that, things are going to play out exactly as it did in Germany. We are different. But what I am saying is we've had a long and expensive war. Our troops are being set up and scolded with the Koran burning, etc. They're being scolded more than they're being praised. We just got rid of how many 4 stars? 3 4 stars and an admiral in the last 4 weeks have been discredited. We have massive debt. We're printing money to pay for that debt. People think the fiscal cliff is a national park in Montana, and yet everybody believes everything's just peachy. It's going to come crashing down. It will. And they'll take the planes, and they'll take the ships, and they'll take your property, our corporations. I mean, you think we're going to keep that Coca-Cola plant in India? I didn't hear that from a crystal ball. I heard that one from Argentina. And I'll show that to you next.